What's up, guys? So in the last video I said that there was some exciting stuff coming. I'm happy to announce that I'm working with Revel. We are going to be installing their titanium exhaust and coilovers today. So inside the box, adjustable sway bar end links. We got the spring dust boots and the coilovers. Super excited to try these out. I've heard good things. Super excited to be working with Revel. They've been very responsive when we've been communicating. They have camber adjustment, rebound adjustment, height adjustment for the fronts, and then the rears. They are, I believe, dampening. Yeah, I'm sorry, that's not rebound, that's dampening. So both have dampening. Rears are dampening and height adjustable. Fronts are dampening, camber, and height adjustable, which will be sick. So that'll help out with doing alignments a little bit more. The adjustable sway bar end links, I'll be able to do a little bit of tuning with that when we're at the track on Sunday. But that's what's in the box for the coilovers. I'm gonna get those put on and walk you guys through it. So anytime I do coilovers, I like to do a measurement with the stock suspension on them, or even if you're replacing coilovers. That way you can just kind of get a reference point. So this is 26 1/4 for the passenger side. The driver side got hit, so that might be a little bit lower. Let's see here. All right. So the driver's side is at 26 1/2. So it's actually a little bit taller. Which, I mean, the shop floor might not be even, but again, that's also why I like to measure it. I do want the car to be level, so I will be doing measurements inside the shop, and then once it's all done, set up, I'll drive it around for a little bit. Once it's been, call it a couple days, so honestly probably Saturday, I'll go find a spot that I know is level, and then go from there, adjust it, because the springs are gonna settle. But the passenger front is 26 1/4, driver front is 26 1/2. Okay. So the rears are 27 and 26 3/4 on the driver's side. All right, so to start, we're gonna grab our 12 mil, break the top hats loose. I'm not undoing them all the way, but now I'll be able to just use my hands to get them off the rest of the way when the time comes. So that's done. Now raise it, pull the wheel off. All right, after you get the wheel off, you're gonna grab a 17 millimeter, a T40, a 19, and then needle nose. You're gonna disconnect both of these little brackets. Needle nose will go through there. Honestly, it'll probably be easiest after removing the 219 bolts. And you'll want to remove the sway bar end link, which is the 17 for the lock nut, and the T40 to be able to go through and break it loose.
You are active.
So they do make a tool for doing this. I just don't want to go out and spend the money on it. But I'm gonna start with the sway bar end link. Fully remove that because this kit does have replacements. If your kit does not have replacements, you'll only need to undo the top, but make sure to be extra careful that you don't strip out the Allen head. If you've ever done one of these before, you know that they're a pain in the ass, even on a brand new car. Also, if you have a ratcheting wrench that fits in here, that would make it a little bit faster. I just forgot to grab mine. And it is the same process to remove the bottom side. Just you'll be under the car, not standing to the side of it. All right, so now that one's loose. Once I do the bottom, I'll pull it out. Both these are 19. Okay, once the nuts are off, what I like to do, get the bolt through. Now once you do that, it'll pop the strut out of the way and literally drop the tie rod end link on the ground. Keep the bolts kind of in there just to hold it until you remove these. So for those, like I said, needle nose plier. If you're like me and a hoarder, and you like to keep your OEM parts, just thread the nuts on and then toss them to the side. All of the OEM parts just kind of sit in storage until something breaks, unless I have a replacement for it already. Also, I highly recommend using an actual hammer, not your wrench as a hammer, but I'm too lazy to walk to the toolbox. So, wrench hammer works. The bottom, the needle nose worked perfectly for. The top, it's super difficult to get in there. So I just grabbed my little panel popper, popped it out. It didn't damage it, which working on cars, you know that's pretty rare. But now, last thing to do, grab this 12, which I had a 12. 12's on the other side of the car. Fresh 12, get her on. That removes the bolt that holds the brake line bracket. And now, because we already broke loose the top hat bolts, you just kind of lift it up a little bit, do the couple of twisties. Third one out. Bam. There she be.
Live grenade.
So the tops of these are a part of the suspension. And when you do the Revel coilovers, they use a ball bearing for it. So it's going to be more rigid. It's going to last longer instead of just that plastic top, which is super cool. I'm not sure if these are side dependent or not. I do not believe that they are, but I always like to compare and make sure. So this has the same orientation as the stock one. So this will be the passenger front. And then what you're going to want to do is start with the top hat. Just push it through, get the nuts put on, a handful of threads, That way you can still adjust the coilover when you're trying to get it lined up. Before we do that, I'm gonna go through, check the preload on the springs, do a height comparison, do a basic adjustment, try to get them set up with the stock height, and then from there lower it the 1 inch that I want to do. And they do include the spanner wrenches for you to do all of that, and the Allen key, because they have little locks on the dampening adjustment. So when you're at the track, your homies can't come over and change the fucking dampening on your suspension and not tell you, and then you're like, why does my car feel weird while you're on track? It's funny, but it's fucked up. Once you get the top hat bolts put on, it'll just kind of hang here. You want to make sure that the camber adjustment is going the right way. You can put the coilovers in backwards, and they are side oriented, so just compare them to the stock ones. So if you grab this guy here, as you can tell, the brackets are on the opposite side. So this is driver, this is passenger. But the adjustable sway bar end links are in and loose, but it's super cool design. You can use that to enhance or decrease body roll. Super glad that they do that. I'm just leaving it with the orientation that it showed up in, so I can get everything lined back up. But so now it's literally just reassembly time. So now from here, tighten everything down. I would do the coilover base first, and then from there you can do a height adjustment. What I do when adjusting the height is I measure the gap from the base to the bottom of the lock collar, so that way you can go through and know roughly how much height you adjusted. So bolt it to the knuckle first, tighten down your brake line. Then once you get the height adjusted, you can go through and adjust the sway bar end links. But I wouldn't do that until you have both sides with the coilovers installed. Adjust the sway bar end links last, so that way you can make sure that you have it oriented with the right height that you want. So out the box, they come the same height as the stock suspension, and I want to lower it about 1 inch. So what I'm doing is coming up to the 1 inch on the tape measure. Then we come through and we just, whoops, twist her down. And as you can tell, the lock collar and pre-tension is not set, so that will get set in a minute. Okay, we about halfway to. So now once that is set how you want it, you will grab the spanner wrench and lock down that lock collar. Okay, so now we can adjust the preload. So With these, I did not see a recommended preload, so we're just going to go with the basic rule of thumb, which is about 1.5 inches of preload per Chelsea DeNofa's YouTube video. So get that lock collar touching, and then adjust that preload. I do like that they come without preload on them. And then when you bump it, just make sure you watch that lock collar, because you will bump it. And if you're watching it, you can see roughly how much it moved. So what Chelsea DeNofa does is it uses the spanner wrench gap, and it'll go up. I also watched the video a couple years ago, so I might be a little wrong. But once it's there, bring that collar up and do it one more time. That comes out to about 1.5 inches. Bam. Okay, so now you'll need both spanner wrenches. And the bottom one, you will turn to the right. The top one, you will turn to the left. Now she ain't going nowhere. So, like I said, don't adjust this until you have the other side done. Right now it's stiff, so that might be where we end up leaving it. But I'm gonna see about potentially shortening it. Or sorry, extending it. So that way there's a little more tension. As you can see, as I rotate, it's angling the sway bar down more. And then as you come in the other way, it's pulling the sway bar up. So we'll have to get that set, do some steering tests, see how it correlates, but literally same exact process on the driver's side. So we're not going to record that just for the sake of time. We got a lot of stuff to do today, but we will record one side of the rears for you guys. I forgot to mention, Revel did send us out these beautiful little coil covers to stop dust and road grime from getting in here and making it super difficult to adjust your coilovers. Hold on. Hold on, Jerry. So to put them on, wrap them around, bring the zipper end towards you. Oh, it is a little bit difficult sometimes. Zipper up, rotate it, and then bam. That will protect the coilovers from getting dust, road grime, any kind of debris in there. And if you've had coilovers on your car and gone to adjust them, you know that as soon as you drive the car, it's almost like they get seized because they have all of that debris in there. So I do like that they sent these out to me. I'm not sure if they're included when you buy the coilovers. I will have to verify that on their website. But with the sponsorship they're giving me, I'm assuming those were included. They threw in a bunch of other cool stuff like stickers, a banner, which is awesome. Very thankful for Revel being willing to work with me on getting the car prepped for competition season next year. But it does kind of suck. You can't see the coilover, but also the car's red, coilovers are blue. So definitely keeping this on there. Super hyped. On to the rear. You're gonna have to, if you have a rear strut bar, you're gonna have to pull that out. I got the Cusco quick releases, which makes it a little bit easier. And then you're gonna have to pull the floor mats out. The subwoofer, if you have the OEM Audio Plus sub, it fits in there just perfectly that you don't have to remove it. So once you get these guys out, bar out, put it somewhere safe-ish. I always like to reassemble stuff so it's less likely to get lost. And then make sure if you have these, you don't forget the little inserts, or you're gonna have a hell of a time trying to secure the strut bar. The quick releases are nice for if you do track days and you street shark, because then you can just pull out the bar, have more room, and then quickly pop it back on when you're at the track. Okay. Once the weather mat is out, toss it to the side. Now do a little cloth floor mat. It is a little bit difficult to get out if you have the sub in, but like I said, sits in there perfectly. Now you have to pull these little inserts out. And then you'll want to take the side panel off, which is just the little pop clips, and that will give you access to the 2 bolts for the strut top. I don't remember what size the nuts are for the stock suspension. If you don't do the brace, I think they were also a 14, but grab a 14. And then since you can't reach in while you're under the car, I'm just fully removing them. I'm gonna pull the bracket and move it to the side, and then we can go under the car to undo it. For the passenger side, I'm just gonna pull the cloth back and undo that bracket, just because pulling that piece of styrofoam out with the kit in is kind of difficult. Getting in and grabbing that pop clip, you can still do it, I just don't want to take the time to. So we're gonna bypass that, just pull the little trunk carpet out of the way and do the other side. All right, so now we have this side removed. Folding the carpet back can crease it, so I would recommend not doing it if you're worried about the way your interior looks. But this side's all torn apart, that side's torn apart. Those are the 2 methods you can use to go through and move everything out the way. So now we go under the car and start doing the fun part. Now that you've got the top loosened, wheel off, blah, 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 you're gonna grab 17 wrench, 17 socket, and then come through, zap her off, and then same thing as last time, grab your pajama handle, okay, once that's through, these are kind of a bitch, so you want to grab your little pry bar, which I put somewhere, and you're going to want a big pry bar. So it's much easier to do with a little one, but you want to make sure you get it lined up so you can get that bolt out. All right, once the bolt's out, the suspension's going to settle. You're going to want 2 people for this. So you're gonna have to pry the lower control arm and pry the suspension up because the bushings are just as wide and it gets kind of stuck in there. So we're not gonna record that part because it's gonna take both me and Jerry, but we will show you the end result. We got the coilover in. It's much easier to get the coilovers in. They're about 1.25 inches shorter than the stock suspension. Got the bolt through. Literally, you just have to pry the LCA down a little bit. If you're strong enough, you can pull the LCA down. You'll get the top lined up with the bolt holes, drop it in, get the bolt and nut through the bottom first. Once it's good and tight, then you can put the wheels on, lower the car, and as long as the top hat is lined up, it'll pop through. But what we are doing is lowering the vehicle before putting the wheels on, and then having one of us push up while the other reaches through the trunk to set the bolts, or sorry, the nuts. And then from there, we can tighten everything down, set preload, check adjustments, blah, blah, blah. But really, that's it. From this point, you're practically done. You just got to get the top nuts on, put that bracket on. If you have a rear sway bar brace, or not sway bar brace, strut tower brace, and then you're set. So this is pretty simple, pretty straightforward install of Revel coilovers. Next, we're doing the titanium exhaust. I'll do a cold start comparison and rev comparison between the old exhaust and the new Revel exhaust, see which one you guys like more. And then maybe I can get you guys deals on some exhaust and coilovers. But we will see you in the next one.